What we intend to do for the last section, for those of you who've been brave or foolish enough to spend the last 6 hours listening to us flapping our gums, this is the opportunity for you to have your say and your input. So what we're going to do is, we've got a statement that's up, well, no we've not, we've got a kind of topic that's up on the board, and we've got 3 highly eminent speakers on our panel. Well, 2 and Jamie, on our panel. And I just want to, sorry Jamie, I intend to just briefly introduce this topic and then ask each of them to make an initial statement about it, and then to get either your comments or questions or contributions about it. This was, I believe, International Women's Day was earlier this week. And one of the things we know is that there are gender differences in the pathways to recovery. We know this from our own Life in Recovery survey. We know this from a whole range of things. Women's careers tend to be slightly shorter and they start recovery at a slightly earlier age, but with greater mental health problems as part of the process. We also know that the majority of the political agenda and the policy agenda around recovery has focused in the UK on illicit drugs. So the primary focus was really about the transition from a methadone culture to a kind of a drug-free or abstinent culture. Yet the language has become infused in both alcohol research and in alcohol policy in the UK. So what we wanted to talk about here is, what do the experts on our panel see as the barriers to recovery and effective reintegration, with particular focus on 2 splits: the differences between alcohol and drugs, and the differences for men and for women. And we have people who've got different areas of expertise to help us initiate these discussions. Ones that, well, I'll ask each of them to speak for 2 or 3 minutes, and then what I want is to get some of you kind of actively involved in giving your opinions about what they say or about anything else you've heard today. And once we've done that, I'll then make a few closing comments, and we'll aim to finish about 4 o'clock, so we'll be away a little bit early, so everybody gets to go home early, so that's a good thing. So I'll introduce the panel. So nearest me is Dr. Jamie Irvine, who you have to have a very short memory if you don't recognise from the rest of today. He's a senior lecturer at Sheffield Hallam University in the Department of Law and Criminology. In the middle is Josie Souter, who is the Chief Executive Officer for SAS, Sheffield Alcohol Support Services, who has worked in the alcohol and drug field for a number of years. Yeah, a number of years. And on the far side is Martin Smith, who's the recovery lead for Derbyshire and is also a member of the Advisory Council on the Misuse of Drugs, which is the statutory body that oversees drug policy and the implementation of the Misuse of Drugs Act in the UK. So they have a nice kind of range of knowledge and experience. So what I'm going to do is ask each of them to make an initial 2 or 3 minute statement, and then we'll get your comments and your input and your contribution, firstly about what they've said, and secondly for us, where do we go now? Jamie, are you happy to kick off?
I looked at about 25 people in long-term abstinence recovery who were members of AA. And the shortest length of time in terms of abstinence was 8 years, and the longest was 35 years. I had a pretty even gender split, and what has occurred to me in probably the last few weeks is I need to go back and mine that data, because when I think about the people that I spoke to, there was some clear, there was a clear gender divide, not in terms of who was longer in recovery, because they, you know, I think actually when I think back that it was the women who were overall, if you like, longer term recovery than the men. But when I go back to it and I look and I think about what those women told me, there were some commonalities. And those commonalities feed through when we're talking about the initial barriers to recovery, and certainly when we're talking about reintegration into life, if you like. So When I think back to that, I'm thinking particularly in a couple of women who talked about their role as mothers, particularly as using addicts and alcoholics, and the threat level that motivated actually the start of their recovery journey, although it wasn't something that put them immediately into recovery. It took a little bit of time, and it was around having their children taken off them. And I think when I look at in recent times, when we've gone back and looked at the differences in the Life in Recovery survey, what we've found there is that whilst we have a fairly even gender split between, again, as in my research and as in Life in Recovery research, we have that gender split there. What we need to do is mine further those experiences that there are clearly different between the two. And I'm saying this because we've started to write up this article, and time and again what we find is that women overall suffer from a lot more emotional and psychological problems than men do, particularly during addiction. And David's already highlighted that those addiction careers, if you like, for women do these things one more calls a telescope. So it magnifies and amplifies very much quicker overall for women to a point where they are in problems. So that is certainly one area. And just to tie this back into what was Women's International Day, it was Monday as well. When I look at that literature, another key finding comes out, and that is that amongst the cohort in many studies, women have also been at intimate partner violence. They have been the victims of domestic abuse, domestic violence, however you want to describe that. And that is obviously key to women getting to a place, literally a physical place, where they might even be able to initiate recovery. Women have to actually be able to exit those relationships to a safe place before they even think about what their offending career might look like, before they even think about what their addiction career and how to sort out and get them onto a safe path to recovery. So that's certainly one thing. And I noticed that those authors never ever talk about who is the perpetrator. Now, I know for a fact, I can quote Sylvia Walby, who is Professor Sylvia Walby at the University of Lancaster, makes it her raison d'etre, her academic sort of forte is to look at those statistics that talk about violence against people in a gender-neutral way. And I take Walby's position that we need to be able to look at those and actually look at who is it who's the perpetrator, but overall who are the victims. So just to end on that, really, I think that there are at least two key differences, two key barriers for women achieving recovery and being able to literally reintegrate. One is psychological health. We know that overall women suffer more intensely from psychological problems. And two, a clearly under-researched area in terms of getting women into recovery is this notion of domestic violence. And the gender-neutral reporting of that within the studies that I have looked at so far, I think we need to go back to being able to say, as the more radical feminists, when you say name the problem, who is it who's doing the violence? We probably need to look at getting those women into safe places first, and then being able to support the initiation of long-term recovery and ultimately reintegration into quality of life and social life. So, on that note, I shall leave it there.
Great, thank you very much.
I'm going to try and touch on both points, but I'm going to start on the women issue. Do we know that women suffer more psychological damage? Because one thing I think are big barriers to women getting involved is around the activities that we put on, and also this constant idea that the barrier is domestic abuse, the barrier is us women not being able to engage. I actually think there's something around resilience, and that women are perhaps slightly more resilient than men, in that we are much better able to talk about our emotions. We know that from suicide rates in males. I think we have coping skills, and we know that there's research there that actually says that women come into recovery services slightly later and they leave earlier. So I don't think we can necessarily make the jump that there's a problem with, I'm not denying that domestic abuse is an issue, but I don't think we can make that jump that the barrier is always to do with the problem being us engaging. I think the problem is perhaps that us as recovery services don't put on enough interesting things that engage women. You know, I'm talking about the craft groups, the knitting groups. My God, if someone asked me to join a knitting group, I would run a mile. And yet I'm hearing today all the interesting things that men are getting at the minute. And I know strong men stuff, you're doing some things for yoga for women.
Can I just
it's
say...
my turn, you've had yours.
It's important.
I'm certainly not picking on you because I know you do other things.
I have something to say after you.
Okay. The Forces Project, we saw there's an 8% engagement in women, and I get that that's because there are a lot more men in the army, but job spreads and houses, I know a lot of the job stuff is around skills like plumbing and you know, building, and does that engage women? I don't know. So I think there's a barrier there around us as services, thinking about how do we engage women without going down the route of it's domestic abuse, or it needs to be a craft or knitting group or cooking classes. That's my first point about women. Second thing around alcohol. We can't ignore that alcohol is legal, and although we had an interesting debate yesterday around drugs and legalisation, I'm certainly not saying prohibition is the way forward, but I think the fact that alcohol is legal means it is A, socially acceptable, and B, seen as safe. And that is a massive problem when you're trying to recover from an addiction with alcohol. You are, you know, if you're an injecting heroin user, you are not likely to go home at Christmas and see your granddad sat there injecting heroin. You're likely to see him drinking, you know. So I think we need to really think about that being a barrier, walking past pubs. We can't pretend that alcohol is not out there and you're not going to come across it. Equally, I think because it's socially acceptable, we have this thing that talking about the issues around alcohol becomes a joke story. So at the end of the news item, if we're talking about the change in alcohol guidelines, we suddenly have this chortle from the presenters of who are we being told to drink less, isn't that funny? Well, actually, no, it's not, because it's a real massive, serious health issue that we don't like to talk about in case we come across as being a nanny state, or, you know, telling people how to live their lives, or killjoys, you know, saying people can't have fun. I was speaking to my 15-year-old little brother last week about Amy Winehouse with the film that had come out, Amy, which I thought was amazing if no one's seen it. And interestingly, he thought she died from a heroin overdose because he didn't think you could die from alcohol poisoning. And I thought, you know, you have a sister who's the chief exec of an alcohol charity, and yet you don't realise the dangers around alcohol use. And I think that all stems back to the kind of social acceptability of it. So shut up ranting, and you will get your chance. I'm passing it over to Mark.
I'll just briefly talk about policy and barriers to recovery. What I would say about the current policy, and the new one's due out actually in a few weeks' time or early April. The current policy, I think, has been certainly good for people who want to recover. I think it's offered hope, I think it's been inspirational, and I think for people who are stuck in treatment, it showed them a way out of services. I think up and down the country it's created leaders, although I would say a lot of those leaders are at a similar age to me, and I would like to see more and more young people coming through, because we've got to start thinking about the next generation of people in recovery leading the community. Two of the main issues in this policy and in previous policies is around keeping people alive and preventing blood-borne viruses. I think we've failed miserably on that, to be honest with you. And I think that's going to get worse as well. There's nothing worse than seeing a colleague and a friend in recovery for 10, 15, 20 years, and then all of a sudden come down with hepatitis C. Only to find out it's too late and they're in some advanced liver disease. So what I will say, especially to services, is do what you're supposed to do and stop testing people, because this will come back to bite you. I would expect to receive legal charges there's not much money left for recovery services. I think there's space there for service users, I think for people in recovery to all those services to account and start working in a more collaborative way with services. Currently the policy creates a one-size-fits-all approach, so in order to get the drug-free exits, everyone was on a drug-free trajectory, on a recovery trajectory. But you should only be on that trajectory if you can benefit from it. And as we know, everyone can recover, but not everybody will. I think it's really important that we remember that. And we've got to come up with a different way in order to help and support those people who are suffering from chronic health, who will not achieve sustainable recovery. Their health needs should become a priority above anything else. As I said earlier, the policy comes out in early April. I wouldn't expect any sort of major change. I think the changes that will occur in it are around segmenting the population, so knowing your population in order to be able to treat them better than we can. And I think within that segmentation, if done properly, the services will find barriers to recovery. So I think if you look at people who are receiving morphine, methadone or buprenorphine, I think if you look at them in primary care, what their GP prescribing, I think we'll find a lot of primary care prescribing around gabapentin, pregabapentin, and benzodiazepine. It's very, very difficult to get someone to recover if they're on high dose medication for primary care as well. And I think that's a blind spot in the system which the current providers and the company aren't looking at. I think that's what we'll look at as well. And finally, I think if we look at job standardizers, if we look at the if we look at the Lancashire User Forum, where they've created sustainable employment, I think they are good organisations that can be replicated elsewhere in the country. And I take the point that Josie raised. I think they are all male-dominated, and I think again there's space, imagination, and creativity there for women to be guided to create their own employment opportunities.
Right, is everybody voted?
Yeah.
Right.
There we go. It's easier to say you are recovering from your life. Oh, right.
So, that's interesting. Two-thirds of people think it's, I guess it reflects that point of publicality. One of the things that has driven the recovery movement in the UK has been connectedness. A sense of kind of commitment to connection, hope, a positive sense of identity, meaning and empowerment. CHIME is the acronym. And from our point of view, the part of a reason for us having events like this is to bring people together and to create connections so that we can actually do something positive. It's all very well us having stood around here talking with you and at you and to you for the last 5 or 6 hours, but it's not enough from our point of view. The point of events like this is to mobilise people to do stuff, not to do stuff individually, but to do stuff collectively. We want to make a commitment to provide a kind of platform for academic debate, for partnerships between academics, people in recovery, practitioners, family members, to mobilise that sense of coalition and activity. And so the first thing is, next Tuesday at 5 o'clock we have the next of our SARG, our Sheffield Addiction Recovery Research Group meetings. And we want as many of you to come along as possible. We are genuine that our long-term ambition is to make Sheffield a recovery city and the leading recovery city in Britain. We've gone some way towards doing that, but conferences aren't enough from that. We have to do things to address some of the things that Martin has just mentioned about drug-related deaths, about meaningful activities, about opportunity, but fundamentally about challenging stigma and opening doors for people. So I hope you've all enjoyed it today. We are really grateful to all of you for coming. We hope you get something out of it, but don't leave it there. And don't forget to give us back your remote before you leave, because otherwise,
decided to